The reading from the Science of Mind magazine, the Daily Guides. I did the announcements at our spiritual center today during our 11 o'clock service, which incidentally is available on Facebook for sure, our Facebook page, Creative Life Spiritual Center's Facebook page, and also our YouTube page. And in there, I read this week's email from our senior minister, Reverend Dr. Jesse Jennings, and he was saying in there that the Science of Mind magazine has been around for 98 years. 98 years, which is kind of cool. So 2 years, it'll be a century. So just thought I'd pass along that little tidbit of information. Let me see. The first quote, today's title is pretty cool if you've not read it in the introduction there. It's called The Gift of Restful Sleep, The Gift of Restful Sleep. And the first quote is from Margaret Wise Brown, who I didn't know she was an author, especially a children's author. She wrote several books. She lived during the first half of the 20th century. The quote is from Good Night Moon. Good night stars, good night air, good night noises everywhere. How about that? Good night stars, good night air, good night noises everywhere. And Ernest Holmes, of course, is a little bit more down to earth. We should not go to bed at night until we have cleared our mind of every animosity. Love is the greatest healing agent on earth for our body as well as for our affairs. And that's from where else? 365 Science of Mind, page 126. And I can look ahead to tomorrow, and I know the quote's going to come from the same place. So for one day's reading, Mary Davis did not quote from 365 Science of Mind. She starts out by talking about a quote that inspired her. I have a note on my nightstand inspired by a practice from Wayne Dyer. Quote, use the most important 5 minutes of your day, unquote. Each night when we go to sleep, we have the opportunity to feed our subconscious mind with the thoughts we want to reinforce. We can refuse to dwell on anything we do not want to magnify, such as our worries and fears. Instead, before sleep, we can program our subconscious mind, the mind that is one with the Creator, with a litany of what we want to manifest in our lives. What do we want to process for the next 8 hours? What seeds do we want to plant? What dreams do we want to manifest? How can we best nourish our souls? I often recite positive affirmations. Quote, I'm peaceful, I'm content, I'm healthy, I'm filled with love. Good things are happening now. Tomorrow will be an amazing day, unquote. Mary Davis goes on to say, this powerful 5-minute practice can be part of a bedtime ritual that sets us up for the profound gift of restful sleep. In Sleep Rituals, sleep expert Jennifer Williamson shares, quote, sleep is a time to heal, time of peace, a time when every heavy thing from your day falls away so that you can rest your body and recharge your soul, unquote. Use your last waking moments of the day to plant seeds of joy, of gratitude, of peace, and of possibility. Plant beauty before bed and to nourish the garden of spirit. Once again, it's a pretty practical reading. Does it follow the science? Well, to some extent, yes, but it's still a good idea to go to bed with good things. You know, my wife and I watch mysteries on TV in the evening, and sometimes we'll watch a mystery before we go to bed, and I'm trying to get us out of the habit of doing that. Why? Because I don't think it's a good thing. Hang on, I need to change my screen here a bit. I think it's better if we concentrate on something that's pretty positive before we go to sleep. And I don't know what my computer is doing here. It seems to resize itself automatically, and I got this huge picture of myself here which I guess I should just be prepared to accept. Anyway, I know at night that we process a lot of stuff that's going on during the day. So I'm kind of wondering if we really start programming ourselves with all this positive stuff before we go to sleep, how does that impact how we process what went on during the day? I don't think it can do any harm, right? I'm pretty sure it'll do some good. It kind of sets the stage for processing things in a good way. Will it cut down on nightmares? I've no idea, but I'm sure of one thing. I think if we do this before we go to sleep, follow these kind of sleep rituals where we put good stuff in our minds, I think it will give us a more restful night's sleep. I should have asked my wife after I read this, because she read it last night before she went to sleep. So I'm kind of curious as to what she did. So I'm going to ask her, and then I'll tell you what she said when I come back tomorrow. And these readings from Mary Davis they've been fairly concise. They've been fairly short. But the thing is, from my standpoint, they've not really required a lot of explanation. Some of them have. I've unpacked some of them, but most of them haven't. So I'm just prepared to take things at their face value here, like with the affirmations. At bedtime, I use my thoughts to come into greater alignment with the divine. Nobody, I don't think, could argue with that. And substitute the word divine for whatever you want. For me, divine is just as good as anything. At bedtime, I use my thoughts to come into greater alignment with the divine. Hey, I can't argue with that. It's a good one. I plant seeds of peace and possibility. I plant seeds of peace and possibility. It's pretty good. I'd also be interested in knowing, how athletes and other people who use a lot of visualization, how they do this. Do they actually program themselves before they go to sleep so that they can process more of that during the night? I don't know. I'm going to do some research on that and find out. So I think it's pretty interesting. So I'm also going to do some more research on what Mary Davis is talking about here and see how it comes out. If I come up with anything interesting, well, I'll let you know. So is all of this spiritual? Yes, in the sense that everything is spiritual, every single thing. Why? Because I believe there's one source of everything. And if there's one source of everything, and that's spirit, then by definition, everything is spiritual. There was a book that Reverend Jesse quoted today, The Sacred and the Profane. And in there, it talks about what it considers what is sacred. For instance, if you're in a church, you go in a church, I don't think anybody would argue, whatever you think a church is, that's a sacred space, right? Or a temple, or a mosque, or some place of worship. That it's a sacred place. And then when you come out into the world, onto the street outside, that's mundane. But in a way, you really can't draw a line between those two, because when you come out into that street, into the quote mundane unquote, you're still bringing that sacred with you. So I think the sacred is within us, and that wherever we are, it makes it sacred. That's my Reverend Jesse said that he thought that something was left out of the book, which was the mundane, but which is like the everyday. So profane, you might want to think of as rough. Mundane is ordinary. Sacred is like connecting with spirit. So what do you think about that? I like to give people things to think about. So what do you think about that? Does it mean anything to you? Is it worth considering? Is it not worth considering? Well, Reverend Lisa will be on tomorrow morning at 9:30. I need to check with her and check in again and find out what time she's really coming on. And it's pretty easy. I can just go to our Facebook page and look what time she starts each day. But it is somewhere between 9 and 9:30, that's for sure. I'll be back tomorrow evening. Let me see. Yeah, I'll have to do it at 5 because I'm in a class from 6:30 till 9 tomorrow. So it will have to be around about 5. And that is going to be pushing it because I'm doing a mediation tomorrow afternoon. Do you need to know all this information? Probably not, but it helps me to get off my chest as well. So sometimes that's good as well. When I mentioned to one of our, are we parishioners? Are we members? I don't know. One of our members, parishioners this morning, that when you've got stuff that's on your mind, you know, that's why we have people trained as ministers and practitioners who are people that you can go to unburden yourself and just know that it's not going to go any farther than that unless you give them express permission to do that. So this morning I met briefly with one of our people, and this person unburdened some stuff to me, and I'm not telling anybody what it is, not even my wife. So, but just remember, you know, reach out to us because that's why we're there. Don't keep all this stuff inside that you don't need to do. And that's another way that you can unburden yourself and have a better night's sleep. So just quick word. That's why we're here. That's what we almost get paid for. So until next time, namaste.